Okay, good afternoon all. My name is Liam Jackson and I'm the Secretary of the Energy Institute Humber branch. I'll be hosting today and Cris Chapman from Myenergi, who is the Sales Director, will be presenting a slide on Myenergi's journey, innovations and what the future holds. Cris has over 20 years experience in automotive and electric vehicle and renewable energy experience. He's helped to launch electric cars into the UK with quite a well-known car that most of you will probably recognise, the Nissan Leaf, and the new MG ZS EV with MG Motors before his time at Myenergi. If you could just jump over to the next slide, please, Cris. Just before Cris takes over and presents the slides, just a bit of webinar housekeeping. So the webinar is being recorded and will be made available through the Energy Institute website. All registered participants will receive that link. And if you could share it with others as well, that would be great. All participant lines are muted during the webinar, just so we don't get any interference with noise. There will be an opportunity to ask any questions at the end of the session. And please take time to complete the survey at the end, what will pop up in your browser after the webinar, if you could please, just so we can see what feedback we've got and how we can improve this going forward. So we're only on a short webinar time, so I don't want to waste any more time. I'll pass straight over to Cris to present his presentation. Thank you, Cris.
Brilliant. Thank you, Liam. So welcome to the Myenergi presentation as to, I guess, how we set up as a business, where we've got to in such a short period of time, and a little bit of what we do. So we specialize in renewable energy product solutions, enabling our customers to make most of self-generation. So anyone who's got solar PV, so solar panels on their roof, or wind generation, we allow them to utilize 100% of that generation while saving money on their electricity bills in the process. So our ethos is to provide energy independence for a more sustainable future. Everything starts with an idea, and these two people here are Lee Sutton, our CEO, and Jordan Brompton, our CMO. So they are the co-founders of Myenergi. They'd both worked with each other previously on other ventures, more prominently with 4Eco, which was Lee's previous business. But we refer to them as Pinky in the Brain, or Beauty in the Brains. And Jordan is very, very much the face of our company, face of the brand. She's built the brand to where it is today and all of the relationships that come with it. And Lee, very much the technical brains behind everything. He's developed all of our products from the ground up, really, and put them into manufacturing as they are now. So we established in July 2016 with the brand name of Myenergi. We're based in Lincolnshire Wolds, so we're Binbrook at the moment. Also with manufacturing in Immingham, but initially in 2016, where we spent a year's R&D development, was really from Lee's living room. So really simple, a conceptual idea as to how can we really bring this to market. Can we take it to other manufacturers as an idea for them to do, or can we bring it to the market ourselves? We decided to do it ourselves. We started shipping products at the end of 2017, and then instantly won multiple awards for innovation in said products. We very quickly received interest from investors, in which in 2018 we received a £1.2 million investment, and then we started making our first profit in 2019. In terms of numbers, we went from 5 people in Lee's living room up to, well, we've got 200 plus on our slides there. I think we're now on about 215 people, of which way over half of that has come over the past 12 months during the pandemic that we've all been suffering. So we've got a new factory complex being built, which I'll go through in a little bit. And we've also set up subsidiaries in Germany, Benelux, Ireland and Australia. and we're not resting on our laurels. We've got plenty of new products in the pipeline, and we now have over 35,000 UK connected customers, as we call them. So, as I say, back in July 2016 was when we set up the Myenergi name. 2017 was when you saw our first product, which is Eddy, which is a power diverter. Really, it's all around that renewable energy source around the home. What Eddy does is it looks for that solar generation or the wind generation, then looks at what the home is utilizing of that and how much is spare. Usually on a normal property, that spare energy would go back to the grid. However, Eddy can see that and then redirect it to a hot water tank, an immersion heater, etc. So you can utilize 100% of what you're generating yourself. Then exactly the same concept. So Zappy version 1, our first electric vehicle charger, came out. Really, really simple. We'd already created Eddy. Lee bought himself his first electric car, being a Nissan Leaf, and said, if I can use my solar power to go and heat my hot water tank, why can't I charge my car with it? Nobody else was doing that in the world at that stage, so we were the world's first people to integrate solar into an EV charger. Then came our first communication device with Harvey, an installer's dream. That's so we can make the installation and the wiring almost wireless in terms of data, at least. And then came the hub in 2018 to connect all of our devices to the internet. So that's where our 35,000 connected customers come from. So they're all connected. All of the devices are connected to the internet. All of our homeowners can see what's going on in their home, what electricity they're using minute by minute, when you turn the kettle on, how that affects your usage, but also with your EV charging as well. So you can also see when your car's been on charge, how much electricity your car used versus the house, and split everything accordingly. And then in November 2018, we launched our version 2 Zappy, modernized to look nicer, untethered variant, and considerably more safety features. Unfortunately, though, things don't go to plan, which is, I guess, the strapline of this story. That in being a startup, we received a little bit of investment after a year or so, but we also did crowdfunding. Jordan, who I've mentioned, is our co-founder. She always uses the term that you've got to be scrappy to succeed in business, and no more so than the journey that we've been on within Myenergi. It's been a very short journey. 2017 is when we started selling products for the first time. Fast forwarding to 2021, we've had a lot of hurdles to get through over that time. Not to mention Zappy version 2. So November 18 is when we launched it to the world. Unfortunately, we couldn't start shipping it in 2018. We made some mistakes. We were branding ourselves as the very first charge point which didn't need to use earth electrodes. So without boring everybody, to fit a charger legally, you had to fit a 3-foot copper rod to protect the earthing in case of a pen fault in the street. We were the first people to say you do not need one with our device. We've got patented technology inside there which is safer than an earth electrode. Unfortunately, we were wrong. So everyone told us we were wrong. We said we're not. We'll go to universities, we'll prove it, we'll write white papers on it. And it only worked 90% of the time. 10% of the time we saw failure rates. So we had a choice of what to do there. We could go back to the market with egg on our face, continue or start to ship the product, but say you do need to fit an earth rod, or do what we did, and we held the unit back for a further 9 months until July 2019, when we redid all of our safety technology to now make it the world's safest. It is patented technology. Nobody else uses the same technology as us. So we are the only people who do this. 2 years later, the regulations have changed, and strangely, the regulations have actually allowed the technology which we didn't deem safe enough back 2 years ago. So we still brand ourselves as the safest charge point in the world. So where we sell now, we come from humble beginnings. So based in Binbrook village in North Lincolnshire. Obviously, I'm sure you guys know it very well. So we started selling to whoever would have it in England. We've contacted local wholesalers, local installers, anyone who would be willing to give us a shout. And then very quickly, Northern Ireland, BHC Distribution in Northern Ireland heard about us. They were very interested, especially with the solar integration, because nobody else had it. So they started stocking our products, and then very quickly, everybody else wanted to as well. To the position we're at now, where we sell into 29 countries worldwide. And then we've now had over 180,000 units sold. And this is where it all began. This was our, the second place it began. First place would be Lee's living room. After we went a little bit more professional and we had some actual office buildings. This is our site in Bimbrook. Everything was done here. So this was from R&D to manufacturing to dispatch, selling, accounting. Everything came through this site. And this is exactly where I'm sat at this very moment in time. So we still have this site. We've outgrown it. So on a basis that manufacturing, we took the gamble really through the middle of the peak of the pandemic. So June last year, we moved our manufacturing out of here into a site which was 5 times bigger to be able to achieve the production numbers of what we thought the market was going to need. It's turned out brilliantly for us, but we had arranged to have a brand new purpose-built factory, headquarters, everything, as you can see here. So we are due to move into this on July the 5th. We started building this probably just over 12 months ago, with the idea that everything will be in this building on the left. By the time it's been built and we're going to have all of the decor done, it's too small for us. So this building on the left-hand side of the plan that you see there, in the pink on that bottom plan, is purely going to be our headquarters. This is in Immingham, so this is on the a brand new industrial estate, and the idea is we're just about to work everything to start building manufacturing down this right-hand side as well. So all of that light blue area is our next plan for the manufacturing space. Realistically, looking at the way that we have forecast the market in the automotive side with electric vehicles is looking, we actually think by the time that is built in 12 months time, that might be too small as well. So it's an ever-changing landscape. It's great and difficult. It's a logistical nightmare to plan with this business. I think we've written 5-year business plans approximately 25 times over the past 2.5 years. Every time we write a 5-year business plan, we seem to be exceeding the 5 years within 6 months, which is a great place to be, but the expansion needed to be able to maintain those numbers and keep customers happy through all this has been very difficult, to say the least. So if I just run into the products that we specialize in, so Zappy is our EV charger. This is our most popular product by far. This was initially a niche product, is what was deemed. I mentioned that we spoke about whether we were going to go into manufacturing or we were going to team up with another manufacturer with the concept. Other manufacturers actually laughed at the concept of Zappy and an EV charger, which is its selling point was from solar and wind generation. And it wasn't believed that this was going to be able to hit the market by storm. It would be such a niche product, it wasn't worth the R&D and investment. We didn't believe that, so we went forward anyway, and we've now built the UK's best-selling EV charger for domestic properties. And the reason behind that is we cover all of the bases. Yes, we brand it as solar, the charger for solar and wind, but it also works as a traditional charger from the grid. We're not naive enough to think everyone's got solar panels, everyone's got wind generation, nor do we think that everyone's going to be parked at home when it's sunny. So you get the great benefits of that. If it's sunny and you've got solar PV, you can charge your car for free. But also at the same time, if you are charging from grid energy, you can utilize any of the smart tariffs that are out there. The big people on the go at the moment are probably Octopus Energy. They've got a couple of tariffs that work where they've got a 4 or 5 hour window in the night where it's cheaper, or their more complicated one is their agile tariff, where every 30 minutes the energy price changes. So they buy from wholesale at a 30-minute window price, and they pass on that price to the customer with a margin on top. It's great, it saves people a lot of money, but it's a nightmare to plan your EV charging or putting the dishwasher on, etc. So we've taken the pain away from the customer, and all they have to do is tell Zappy when they want their car fully charged by, and we actually look at their pricing window behind the scenes as to when the cheapest electricity is, when the greenest electricity is, and we plot their charging times around. So you're either charging for free from solar, or you're charging at the cheapest possible rates you possibly can, importing your energy from the grid. But either way, any Zappy owner will know that they're charging for as free as possible and as green as possible. We've got all of that safety technology built in. We've got dynamic load balancing built in, which is basically to protect the property. Properties weren't designed to be able to have to be asking for big loads like charging a car, all at the same time as maybe an electric hob, an electric oven, electric showers, kettles, etc. So what we do is we monitor the what the property has got turned on at once. If turning Zappy on at full pelt will damage the circuits, we ensure that Zappy only might turn on to 70% capacity until the kettle's finished boiling. Then we can instantly see there's more capacity available on the circuit, so we can start charging it full again. So the homeowner will probably see a drop for a couple of minutes in terms of charge rate to protect the property, but then it ramps straight back up. So all of these extra safety tech things, we were the world's first to do any of this on a charger, all down to Lee really. Eddie, I've run through that as well. Concept-wise, Eddie and Zappy are identical. The only difference is where the power goes to. So on Zappy, the power will go to charge your car, and on Eddie, the spare solar or wind power will be able to go towards a hot water tank, immersion heater, underfloor heating. If you've got the finances behind you, a swimming pool, so you can use it to heat your swimming pool. So you can run 2 heaters sequentially from an Eddie. It also works with heat pumps, so it's a great addition for any home with solar needs to have one of these without a doubt, because it will save you so much money. Hub and Harvey, communication devices. So both Zappy and Eddie, for us to see what's going on in the property and see what's going on from the solar panels, we use what's called a CT clamp. So it's a little black clamp that goes around the supply cables, which is normally wired back to the charge point or wired back to the Eddie. You can use Harvey to just wire them into the Harvey, and then it will wirelessly send the data signals back to our devices. Homeowner-wise, they won't care. However, for the installer, it makes everything so much simpler. For a minimal cost in terms of the hardware of Harvey versus the extra cable runs, etc., it will save them a lot of money and a lot of time in an install. Hub, communication device, again, is purely about the internet. So it's all about getting these devices connected to the internet. So the homeowner of today always wants to control things in hand on their smartphone or tablet and be able to see what's going on. So it gives you full visuals of your home energy usage, your car charging, your heater system. If anyone's got a battery, so a battery storage system, then we can work with third-party batteries. You can see what's going on in the import and export of batteries inside our app as well. So it's really an app to tick all of the boxes for the homeowner. So as I insinuated, Zappy is by far our biggest selling product. That's purely because of how the EV industry has taken off. I was introduced as a fact I've spent a lot of my years in the automotive sector. It's true, I spent 17, 18 years with different car manufacturers, through selling cars as a young car salesman to working directly with the car manufacturers. the shift to EV is the biggest change to the automotive industry in decades, if not centuries. Turn on to that the fact that the government have pushed the 2030 to stop pure petrol or diesels being sold within the UK. We are constantly chasing our tail, really, to try and work out what the general public are going to do and what the take up of electric vehicles is going to be. It's predicted that this year is going to be around about 220% greater than that of 2020. However, if you look at April in isolation, April 21 versus April 2020, there was a 566% increase. So us trying to relay that into additional production and additional staffing to try and meet that demand, where all of a sudden in just 1 month it's gone up by 566%, is really, really difficult. We've had lots of challenges on the way. So nice little quote there from Jordan: "You've got to be scrappy and prepared to fight to survive." No more so than the challenges we've faced over the past 2 to 3 years. So I've already told you about the earthing arrangements and the problems that we found when we were trying to prove our technology. Many people would have just backed down at that and said, okay, we got it wrong. Some people would have cracked on anyway and said 90% is a decent number. We said, no, if it's not 100% safer than what's out there at the moment, we're not going to market with that technology. So our team are phenomenal, and no matter what we throw at them, and to be fair, from a sales side, I throw a lot at them. They always manage to come through the other side. But to try and go from where we were, to give you an indication, 18 months ago, we were working on how our production can work to 250 Zappies a month to be able to come off the production line for me to be able to sell into the UK. Fast forward to today, I'm trying to work out how we can go with 10,000 units. So we're taking on average 10,000 pure Zappy orders every single month, and our production team are needing to work to that. And then you've got supply chain issues, because supply chain at the moment, I don't know if you guys are aware, it's a war zone out there. We're now seeing the back end of the start of coronavirus. So when everything shut down in early 2020, especially in China, microchips, computer systems, etc., they all slowed down. The order bank was still there. So when they started to come back up and start producing again, they started to work on the backlog. The big players in the market, the automotive industry, car manufacturers, they've got a lot of weight, so they're pushing themselves to the front of the queue, which is forcing everybody else backwards. So we've been nursing along, really, and as Jordan says, scrapping to ensure that we can have every single component that we possibly need, because we don't import our products. We build our products from scratch, which is not really heard of in this industry. I think there's probably only 2 or 3 other EV charge point manufacturers in the UK who actually build their own products. Everything else is just send a spec list to China and you'll get a charge point sent back to you in whatever quantities you want. They can do that cheaper, but we can work ours, so we can work the supply chain. As a recent area, the supply chain on the old microchip we were using, there is now a 1.5-year waiting list on microchips. Because we build our own, and because of how specialized and how skillful our R&D team is, we've managed to transition our entire product lineup from one microchip set to another, which we could actually get hold of. So we've now secured another 2 years worth of supply in microchips. If we we didn't have that capability, if we didn't have that expertise, we would be in the hands of what we can get from other people. Then you've got personal and general life. We were a startup. We were a small business. It was a very, very family-run atmosphere. We've tried to maintain as much of that as possible, but as the business gets bigger, the responsibilities get bigger. The unfortunate reality is we lose people along the way. We lose good people who don't want the pressures of being a big business. We also find people can't adapt to a bigger, busier business. There are multiple areas. Back in 2019, when we were launching Zappy off the production, or Zappy 2 off the production line for the first time, Jordan went into early labour. So her little baby girl Bonnie was born 2 months early. They spent quite a period of time in hospital. So Jordan was away from the business. Team that up with Lee, who decided to go on a stag do, which you can't blame him, but fell over and ended up with a bleed on the brain. So all of a sudden we had our two most influential, both co-founders, off from the business at the same time. We had to scrap, and it was an interesting few weeks and few months. And then cash flow, investment, growth and scaling, it's been a constant robbing Peter to pay Paul. We've had customers where we're asking them to place orders for 4 months' time, 5 months' time, and they've been brilliant. Our customers are the best customers I could ever wish for. They've supported us right from the start. It's difficult for them. It's been a tough ride for us, which you shouldn't feel sorry for us at all, because we are doing extremely well, and our growth is phenomenal. And sometimes we have to pinch ourselves and look back to where we were 6 months ago, let alone back to 2016 when the Myenergi name was when first thought up. But without the understanding from our customers, our wholesale network, the support that's come along all the way through, it would be difficult to say that we'd be in the same position now. And that's where we view our business, with our staff, the local community, our customers. It's a big family. We try and keep everybody on board as much as as physically possible. We're honest as well. We're not a bureaucratic company. We wear our heart on our sleeve, and if we make a mistake, we tell our customers. And that's not just customers as wholesalers, that's customers as end users and homeowners. We've got a forum that links directly to our CTO. He's on there every single night answering questions from homeowners, from basics as to what does this number mean in my app, to can we have this as an upgrade on the next version of the software, etc. And I think that is the differentiator between us and other manufacturers in other industries, but more specifically in ours. Anyone from an installer to a homeowner to a wholesaler can pick up the phone and talk to us directly, and we'll be completely honest with them. And that's an area where I'm really proud to be part of Myenergi, because, as I say, we wear our heart on our sleeve. We don't get everything right, but we've done a really good job so far, in very testing circumstances. And then the brilliant bits that follow. I don't know if any of you are into motor racing at all, but the opportunities that are starting to come from our brand, our business, are phenomenal. We've recently become headline sponsors for a team in Extreme E Racing. So it's a brand new racing concept of electric SUVs going all the way around the world into different ecosystems. So there's an ocean stage, a desert stage, an ice stage, a rainforest stage, All of this is to highlight climate change within the area, whilst doing the thing that they do best, is racing. Everything is done as sustainable as physically possible. These cars aren't flown across the world. They've developed a recycled, as such, or upcycled postal vessel, turned it into an eco boat with so as much of the energy used is renewable, to be able to move from stage to stage on the 5 races that go through. And at every single venue, they will set up a climate change initiative in there to ensure that the whole racing series is carbon negative. So we've proudly sponsored that. It's been a huge deal for us. We never, back in 2016, would never ever think that the Myenergi branding would be on the side of a racing car. It's phenomenal to think where we've come in the past 6 months, let alone the past 5.5 years. But this is just the beginning. So Jordan and I always have the conversation as what's next, and the answer we both give is always the world. So we view the company as, yes, EV charging is massive for us, but we want to be able to help the homeowner and have a complete home ecosystem. So that connected home is really important for us, to be able to allow that customer to utilize all of their energy in the best possible way for, 1, the homeowner's pocket, and 2, for the environment. And whether that be from solar panels, wind, or pure pulling from the grid, but trying to move their time of use out of the key areas and be able to utilize their products in different areas of the day where electricity imports is better on CO2. That's the key for us. So we've got multiple products in the pipeline. By the end of this year, all being well, we'll have another 3 products within the marketplace, and then we're also going to be pushing more and more into that home energy side. So I guess it's watch this space from Myenergi. We've gone from 0 to hero in a very short period of time, and I think we probably have around about 30% of the UK EV charging market, which we're hoping to grow. And with our subsidiaries in Germany, Australia, Ireland, and Benelux, it's hopefully just the start of even bigger things to come. So I hope you've enjoyed a fairly quick and brief presentation as to us, what we do, and I guess why we do it, and some of the troubles we've had on the way. Really happy to answer any questions from anybody if you've got them. So back over to you guys.
Thank you, Chris, for that. It was a great presentation. I know myself, living in Grimsby, I've seen Myenergi grow over the last few years, so it's fascinating to understand the full story. We have a couple of questions for you, Chris. So I'll start with the first one. Can Zappy allow the car battery to be used to feed into the house needs when the demand is there, then recharge when the house doesn't need the supply?
Oh, good question, and it's one which we get asked a lot. So the answer is no. For multiple reasons. So the technology you're referring to there is called V2H is its actual name, but a lot of people refer to it as V2G or vehicle to grid. It's not vehicle to grid because you're actually wanting it to go to the home, so it's V2H. There is only one car on the market which is capable of bi-directional charging. So the battery of the car being able to accept charge and discharge into a property or into the grid, which is Nissan Leaf. So I was actually part of the project of the home energy management within Nissan with the vehicle to grid and vehicle to home charging system and their extra storage battery system. Unfortunately, the project didn't work. So we terminated the project, and it didn't really go anywhere. There's a couple of other charge point manufacturers who have picked up on the back of that and created their own vehicle to grid or vehicle to home chargers. The problem with it is they are astronomically expensive. they're circa £7,000 because they only work on DC charging. So on that side, there's a special connector called a CHAdeMO connector. That's why it only works. So Nissan Leaf is the only one with the bidirectional battery, and that uses a CHAdeMO cable. When it comes to the likes of Tesla, MG, Audi, Mercedes, all of their cars, A, their battery is not bidirectional, and B, they use a different connector called CCS, which isn't capable of bidirectional charging. So our R&D team are looking at producing a charger that is capable of doing it, but it needs a lot of work to actually make it a reality. First, the charger needs creating, and to make it cost effective for a customer, it needs to be on AC rather than DC. And then secondly, car manufacturers need to get on board. So first they need to ensure that their batteries are bidirectional. And then secondly, there is a huge question as to warranties. So Nissan, when they pulled out of their own program, whilst the car is capable of bidirectional charging, they don't want anybody else's equipment to be capable of pulling the charge out of the vehicle, because their battery warranty has all been calculated and organized around an annual mileage. So if that charge and discharge cycle is going to be happening considerably more often, the vehicle's warranty and battery warranty will be considerably shorter. So there's some huge questions as to, well, who's covering that battery warranty? So at the moment, it's too early. I think you're a minimum of 2 years away before this is actual adopted technology that can be utilized properly. You'll have some beta testing around, but that's it. Hopefully that answers that question.
Thank you, Chris. I'll move on to the next one. What is the most important factor in overcoming the chicken and egg problem? For example, EV uptake is driven in part by charging infrastructure, but building new infrastructure is unpopular when the market for it is so small. Should the government be doing more to solve this?
100%. I'm a salesperson. I'm a risk taker and a gambler. So, but on one hand, you might not want to listen to me, but on the other hand, I think I'm correct in my views. It's if you put the infrastructure there, the people will come. Likewise, it's exactly the same concept really with us and manufacturing, because my view is, let's not look at the forecasts as to what the EV uptake can be, because I think they'll get it wrong. I think it's going to come considerably quicker than what everyone who's doing these posh forecasts have said. I want our production to be able to go double what the forecasts are. So everything that they say, I want us to be able to potentially produce double the charges that we're going to need to be able to compensate for that. And exactly the same in charging infrastructure around the UK. It shouldn't be a case of how many are on the road now, so how many do we need? It shouldn't be a case of, well, we're predicting that there'll be double the amount on the road next year, so we've got a year to be able to do it. It's a case of, it's a really simple thing. If you're sat around a table and just having a discussion about your next car, and someone says to you, oh, there's a charger just in the centre of town if you ever needed it, or if someone said, well, there's one every 50 meters. As soon as you hear there's one every 50 meters, it's a no-brainer. You're not going to have the fear about running out of charge. Realistically, it's not, in my mind, it's not as needed. This is where I'm going to contradict myself. It's not as needed as much as people say, because I've driven an electric car now for 3 years. I do on average 25,000, I think it is, miles a year. And I very, very rarely use public charging. Car technology is much better now. Batteries have greater range to them, and your petrol station is on your driveway. People who don't have driveways and off-street parking, yes, I completely agree. To anyone who's got their own charger at home, you will very rarely use public charging. it will be for that half a dozen journeys in a year where you go over a 200-mile range, etc., and you plan your journey accordingly. And we've done studies around EV customers, try and find their annual mileage, their daily mileage, their monthly mileage, and where they charge their cars. And it's been a deciding factor as to whether we go into that public charging sector, because we're domestic at the moment, and we get asked on a regular basis, are you going to go into public charging? And the stats are actually really, really low as to the requirements for public charging. Off-street parking is a different kettle of fish, but your rapid charging for motorway service stations and at car parks and pubs, there's a lesser need for them than people think. At the moment, it's a fear of the unknown, which is what. So in my mind, put the infrastructure there, and anyway, because it ticks all of the boxes. You've got plenty of petrol stations to be able to convert over. Petrol stations are not going to be needed in the next 10, 15 years. So there's plenty of land to be able to do it with. Do it anyway. But I think you'll find when you actually start driving an electric car on a daily basis, you won't be relying on that public network as much as you think.
Thank you, Chris. Just mindful of time. I've got one quick question for one quick answer, if you can. We can wirelessly charge phones now. Will this happen with cars in the future?
Yes. Yeah, it definitely will. There's we talk about it internally on a regular basis. The difference is being able to get someone to be able to drive and park over something in exactly the same position every time. So the only way you can work it is if all cars are the same size, or at least wheel to wheel the same size, and the charging coils are in the same place on every car. So as long as every car manufacturer is willing to do that, because if someone put wireless charging in their garage or on the driveway, and it was on the left-hand side of the driveway because that's where the coil was on their Audi, let's say, and then they changed their car 2 years down the line as a 2 to 3 year change cycle, but then they moved to a Tesla and Tesla had the charging coil on the right-hand side of their car, it wouldn't work anymore. So there's other technologies that you can bring into place, but 100% without a doubt at some stage in the future, but I think you are talking 15, 20 years in the future, wireless charging will be used in places. It won't be the core one because of expense, but it will be used.
Thank you, Chris. So thank you, Chris, for presenting. Thank you for everyone for joining. We'll just quickly wrap up now. Just want to quickly highlight the Energy Institute and what we do. So this is a charitable chartered professional body with 20,000 members, 200 companies in 120 countries, dating back more than a century. We are currently working across all energy areas, delivering standards, guidance, training and qualifications that raise the bar in operations. These energy areas include upstream and downstream oil and gas, on and offshore wind, battery storage, hydrogen, carbon capture, integration networks, plus many more. If you could just skip to the next slide, please, Chris. The Energy Institute has issued a hydrogen guide for anyone who is interested. I've read this, it's a great guide, very interesting. It's aimed at people who are not experts in the field. Hydrogen is coming, it will come into people's homes in the future. So it explains all that. It explains what hydrogen is, how it's made, how it's transported, used, and what the experience will be like for the end user who doesn't probably know much about hydrogen now. You can get this by visiting the website or scanning the QR code in the bottom slide. That is it, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Chris, for presenting. Fascinating presentation there by Myenergi. Have a safe day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, guys.